I've got my buddy Jake here. Let's give out some Christmas gifts to the 2026 Atlanta Braves. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Christmas Eve, December 24th. This is your source for news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram as well, but not a TikTok, unlike my guest here, Jake Mastroianni, host of Locked On Braves, my good friend. We're proudly part of the Believe Podcast Network, presented to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com to get started. And Jake and I already got started. This is part 2 over on Locked On Braves. Earlier today, we gave out Christmas gifts to some of the Atlanta Braves. Ozzie Albies, Bryce Elder, Michael Harris, a couple other guys. Go check that out over on Locked On Braves. And then come back here because Jake and I have 4 to 6 more gifts to give out to Atlanta Braves players for Christmas. And Jake, I want to go first because I want to give a gift to Chris Sale, because it feels like now that he's gotten out of Boston and gotten back to being healthy, the conversation is back around, is Chris Sale a Hall of Famer? He finally got the Cy Young that had eluded him for so long. I mean, he had 7 different Cy Young finalist finishes, including a 2nd place, a 3rd place, 2 fourths, 2 fifths. I mean, came so close. Finally got the Cy Young win. And when you look at his accumulated stats, right, he's been one of the best strikeout artists in baseball when he's been healthy in his career. And Baseball Reference has something on there where they show pitcher comparisons to existing Hall of Famers, right? His 7-year peak for WAR is slightly below that of your average Hall of Famer as a pitcher. But per 162 games, he's produced more WAR than the average Hall of Famer. And I think if Chris Sale, he is entering his age 37 season, if he can have 3 seasons that are maybe not as good as 24, but in that same, even last year, 258 ERA, 267 FIP. If he can have 3 seasons in that same ballpark by being healthy and being effective, I think Chris Sale can be elected to the Hall of Fame. I think he's closer than maybe we realize. He just needs a little bit of health and a little bit of luck.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think he's kind of there, especially in today's age of starting pitcher. I know the injured seasons definitely hold him back, but you're talking about a guy who does now have that Cy Young, a guy who has that World Series. I mean, the Triple Crown as a pitcher, one of the best strikeout pitchers of all time, especially, go by K-Bernine strikeout percentage. I think he's there. To your point, he does that for 3 more just like decent years. He's definitely there. But he is on that edge. He's certainly not a slam dunk for many people. But I mean, he looks so good, even just coming back from an injury last year. And I'm so hopeful for Chris Sale. I'm going to give you an exact number though, 421. You give me 421 more strikeouts, you're getting to 3,000. That is a lock there. I mean, You get to that number, that is an absolute lock. That probably is going to take you 2.5 more seasons, unless he throws another 180 season or something like that, or has another Cy Young season. But he does that. It is definite. I mean, 2024, he struck out 225. So, I mean, you do that the next 2 years, then he's there. And you're also probably winning another Cy Young or 2. But yeah, I would love to see Chris Sale get that done. The career that he's had, the numbers he's put up, the accolades that he has, he definitely, I think, should be a Hall of Famer. But it would be nice to see him, cap that and do it in a Braves uniform. Get him one more World Series too. I would love to see that.
Make him MVP of the World Series. Why not? Have him pull a Yamamoto and get 3 wins in the World Series.
Yeah, I would love to see it. So yeah, I like that one. That's a good one. My gift is going to go to Spencer Strider. And the gift that I'm going to give him is 2 more miles per hour back on his fastball. it went from average 98.2 and 22. Now, part of that was he was coming out of the bullpen for the beginning of that year. Then it was 97.2. Then it was 96.3. And then this past year, coming back from the injury, 95.5. So you're talking about going down a mile per hour in 4 straight seasons. Now, part of that too, in the previous seasons, he was dialing it back some to try to, save it. He talked about doing that. But I talked about this on Locked On Braves earlier in the week too, when I talked about the 2 Spencers coming back. I feel more confident in Spencer Schwellenbach coming back because we've seen him do it at a lower velocity. Like if that increase in velocity did lead to that fractured elbow, okay, he can still pitch, mid 90s and be absolutely fine. It was a much better and more dominant version with the added velo, as you would expect. Spencer Strider, I don't know. Like I want to believe in him, and I believe he'll figure it out, but I just don't know. I haven't seen him have that type of success at lower velocity. In order for him to be the guy that I know he can be, he has to have that velo back. To be that dominant pitcher, that Chris Sale version of himself, he has to have that velocity back. And I'm hopeful he can get it. I know we talked about it all throughout the season on the postcast that we think with a full healthy off season that he comes back and he has those velocity gains. And I hope that's the case because I think that's the only way that we get that dominant version of Spencer Strider back. So that's my gift to Spencer Strider. I'm giving him 2 more miles per hour back on that fastball.
Yeah. And when I look at what Strider was doing during the season, I do think the hamstring issue may have been a bigger thing than I think we realized. Because when you watch when he was throwing harder in season, it was early in games and he was really tailing off late. And I feel like some of that's probably a conditioning issue, right? He spent the offseason rehabbing, not building up a workload. And then some of that too was probably not having full strength in that hamstring because it downed him for a month. And I find it hard to believe that he was 100% when he came back. That's not who Spencer Strider is. Spencer Strider is, if I can physically throw a baseball close to what I was doing before, I'm going to come back and pitch, whether or not I'm fully ready. So I'm with you. I think that, one, you made a great point on the show. I think it was Monday's show, right? The Spencer versus Spencer show, that Schwellenbach's done it at a lower velocity. I do think we saw a lot of growth from Spencer Strider as far as mixing in the curveball more, throwing the changeup more. I remember him telling me in spring training to 24 maybe that he didn't think the changeup was very good. And he'd rather throw his best pitch again than throw a changeup because it wasn't very good. He threw those two other pitches a combined 14%. And I think that's kind of growth for Spencer because in previous years, he was throwing, a changeup maybe 6%, 7%. And he just was willing to go to non-fastball slider a lot more often. So I'm with you. I think if he comes back to where he was your automatic best top 3 in baseball, I think if he comes back at 50% better than what he was last year, right? If he gets half of that velo back, I still think he's a really, really good number 3 back in number 2, but Schwellenbach's probably right ahead of him. And curious, that's one of my biggest questions about this upcoming pitching staff is what version of Spencer Strider do we get?
Yeah, it's key. I mean, you can say about all the starters. It seems like we don't know what we're going to get with a lot of these guys, but Strider in particular, because he has the ability to be the best pitcher in baseball. But if not, we don't know what the other version of him looks like. I mean, we saw some stretches of him last year, but we just don't know. That's kind of been the thing all offseason. I've said is we don't know who Spencer Strider is right now. I'm hopeful. I think you made a good point about the hamstring too. And I know this was a 1-inning spring training showcase, but when he came out in that spring training game and was blowing up her 90s and looked like that Spencer Strider, I'm thinking, oh goodness, he is fully back. And then you saw him, go through obviously minor league starts. And then this first start back, it was still just averaging around 95, but he still bumped it up, to 90, got a 99 in there. And so then he had the hamstring and then he had to sit out another month. And so I think you make a good point about the hamstring too, that probably did derail a lot of that buildup that you would normally have in what we hope is going to be a regular offseason for him.
Yeah. All right. In just a second, we've got another set of 2 guys who are going to get Christmas gifts from me and Jake as far as being better in 2026. We'll do that next right here on Braves Today. But first, Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Encase Cards, custom sports card manufacturer. I love these guys and what they do. You upload your source photos. It can be U Sports. That's what I use for my son and his T-ball team. You go in there. They have holographic options, background options. You customize the card in their designer however you want it. You choose the text, the hologram, the background, the placement. I went with, obviously, his name, his number, his team, his position in U Sports. Designed the front and back, approved the proof. They printed it on high-quality cardstock, slabbed it, and shipped it to me in a convenient case with a built-in stand. Now, you cannot place an order. It's Christmas Eve. You're not going to get your order by Christmas Day. But if you order before Friday, they're going to increase your discount from 20% to 30% when you use promo code BRAVES today. Again, that's Encase Cards, NCASC Cards, promo code BRAVES today for 30% off. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby, joined by my friend Jake Mastroianni of Locked On Braves. Also, my partner for the postcast, for Locked On Braves postcast. And we are partnering to bring all of the exclusive subscriber content to subscribers of Locked On Braves, the Everydayers Club. Go to, I think it's lockedonbraves.supercast.com. Am I correct on that?
You got it. Yep.
Yeah, to get that exclusive content, whether it's extra videos that we record, access to the subscriber Discord, all that good stuff. Okay, Jake, next group of players. I'm amazed it's taken us now 5 rounds to get to this guy, Ronald Acuña Jr.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to give you what you think I'm going to say. Everybody's going to assume we want him to be healthy. And yes, that's a given. I think that's just an automatic given for Ronald Acuña Jr. I want specifically to gift him an elite first step. Because when you look at Ronald defensively, he has become on StatCast and a lot of the, the defensive metric systems, one of the, I'm not going to say worst, but not a very good defender in right field from a range perspective. And a lot of that, some of that was injury related, right? He was definitely taking it easy trying to get to balls last year, especially after the calf injury. But also, Ronald's first step has consistently been well below average. And when you go on StatCast and you look at how fielding works, they have the reaction, they have the burst, and then the route. The reaction's the first second and a half, right? The distance you cover in the first second and a half. The burst is the distance in the next second and a half. And then the route is how efficient your route was, how many extra feet over the direct line you ran to get to the ball. Ronald's always been not great at the reaction part, but it's gotten significantly worse. He was making up for that in the burst component, in that second and a half. He's not doing that anymore. He still has the big arm. He's still incredibly fun to watch. I go back and keep rewatching that put out at third base from the right field corner against the Yankees. Just flat-footed, throws the ball in, Nacho dekes the runner, and they get the out. He can still do things like that, but he's not getting to the balls to make the spectacular catches that his athleticism would make you expect him to do. And when there's conversation about the best hitters or the best right fielders in baseball, people talk about, Aaron Judge because his numbers are absurd. They talk about Juan Soto because his numbers are absurd. And then they talk about guys like Fernando Tatis, who is an all-around guy. He has really good numbers on offense, but he's also a platinum glove candidate on defense. And I feel like Ronald, as respected as he is as a hitter, he can be a better defender. It's all down to just a better first step. And if he can be healthy and then have a better first step, I think he has the skills to be an above average right fielder. And I'd feel a lot better, honestly, about giving him a long-term extension if he showed that defensively he was a lot better earlier in the route.
I think that's a good call by you. I almost went there with Ronald. I do have a separate gift that I'm going to give him, but I'll talk on that one for a moment because that's where I almost went, because I thought about what is the only really weakness that Ronald has, and it just is
other
that
than health. Yeah,
it's just that first step defensively. Now, I've been of the mindset that I still think he gets to the baseballs that he should. I still think very rarely does he not get to a baseball that I think he should get to. Maybe on some of those balls coming in, you see him have to pull up a little bit. That might be the one. He plays deep too, but I feel like he covers pretty much everything at the wall. He plays that at Atlanta Braves right field wall better than anybody. He's made so many good catches there. And you're right. I was watching that play today. I watched the throw maybe at least 3 or 4 times every day, but I was watching it today and I was just thinking, it still blows my mind. Like, I know everybody's going to say, well, the guy didn't run. He didn't think there was a chance. Like, just watch the throw itself. I mean, I did a full breakdown on it because I was that enamored with it.
It just carries and carries and carries.
It looks like it defies physics. Like, it just doesn't make sense. He's flat-footed. Again, the guy's incredible. You give him a great first step. He's a Gold Glove defender with that arm, with the burst that you talked about. So that is really the one weakness. If you could give that to Ronald. For me, my gift to him was 40 games in the DH spot. And that could be on the low end even, but I'm giving him 40 games in the DH spot. And maybe he doesn't like it. We don't really know. Some guys go there, they don't like it. They want to be in the field. But for me, I'm giving him 40 games in the DH spot to give him an opportunity to rest so he can just focus on what he does do best, which is mash baseballs. And hopefully that's also going to allow him to keep his legs fresh, to maybe give him that better first step, but to also allow him to steal 40 bases again. I think Ronald still has another 40-40 season in him. I think he has that ability, especially when you see what he's doing in the Venezuelan League right now. I mean, I still think he has that type of potential. I think he can still be the best player in baseball. I very, very much believe that. I shouldn't have to go out and defend it that much, I don't think. But I feel like people have forgotten about him because of the injuries. But when healthy and when out there, he is still one of the best players in baseball. So for me, I'm giving him at least 40 games in the DH spot to try to keep him fresh, to try to allow him to steal more bases, just to be in the game more, and to put up some big numbers for the Atlanta Braves this season. The next guy that I'm going to hear, maybe a little bit off the radar, I'm going with Giancarlo Lara.
Okay.
And I am giving him the gift of control. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not even going to get carried away and try to give him the gift of command. I think that's outside of Santa's budget this year. But just the ability to have an idea of where his pitches are going. You're talking about a guy that has a career walk per 9 of 6.6 in the minors. That is not good at all. You want that somewhere closer to 3. You want it half of that. He had an 11-game stretch last year, though, at Gwinnett, where he threw 15 2/3 innings, allowed just 6 hits because you can't hit this guy, just 6 walks, and 4 of those came in one outing. He had 24 strikeouts in those 15 2/3 innings. Only 4 earned runs allowed, and 3 of those came in that outing where he walked 4 guys. So you're talking about, you take that one outing away, and it's even more impressive stretch. And then for some reason, they decided to put him back as a starter and let him throw three innings. And then they decided to call him up and not use him in a game that I'm still very upset about.
That was so annoying. His parents came. His parents were there.
I don't get it. I talked about that on the podcast with Gora, but just give him the gift of control. Just be able to throw enough pitches near the strike zone, throw enough strikes, because the stuff is so good. We've been talking about, this offseason, maybe just getting one more piece for the bullpen. We talked about it. I remember it was this show or the one we did on mine, but you talked about the idea of, we got, 3 guys in Iggy and Suarez and Dylan Lee that you feel pretty good about. If Giancarlo Lara can cut his walk per 9 down just even under 5, I think he can still be really, really good. Like, the fastball slider is that good. You're talking about triple digits fastball that he has. And you're talking about, there's that other big piece for the back of the bullpen. And I think he can be that type of guy, but you can't be walking everybody. You can't keep pulling a Kimbrel where you walk the bases loaded and then try to strike everybody out. And if you can just get a little bit of control for Giancarlo Lara, I feel like he could be a huge addition for the bullpen in 2026.
I think that's a good call out. The one concern I have, as we talk about, dropping career 6.6 walks per 9, dropping to below 5. Last year, between AA and AAA, it was 8.5. So it was even higher in the minors last year. Although, to your point, a lot of that was when he was working as a starter to try to get him innings. AA's spoken about this a little bit about you just get so, like, you can accelerate the development timeline when you have guys take bulk innings in the minors versus being used as a single inning reliever in the majors. So I think that's probably why they did it. Yeah. And if I go and look as a reliever, he had he had 21 walks in 97 plate appearances. And then he had 44 walks and 230 as a starter. So like he actually had a better walk rate as a starter than as a reliever. Maybe it's a sign he's just overthrowing a little bit. We'll see what happens there. But I do think if he could emerge as that fourth guy, you feel a lot better about not only the bullpen next year, but also when you no longer have Raisel Iglesias, you need to figure out after Suarez, who is your next closer. You feel good about Lara. He can throw over 100. If he's not walking into a ton of guys, stuff hard to hit. You feel good about that. All right. In just a second, let's come back. I've got a very surprising pick for my sixth and final gift I've given to the Atlanta Braves in 2026, as well as I want to get Jake's thoughts on this. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Listen, college football playoff is coming up. There are just Jake and I, both Auburn men, very excited that Alabama is not favored. I don't understand this really, and I might actually bring in Jake and ask him about this. Indiana 6.5 point favorite over Alabama. That feels like a lot of points to give an Alabama roster. Do you personally? I personally think they're going to cover, but I could be wrong. Is that the worst case scenario for you and me? If Alabama is the underdog and they win this, they knock off the number 1 seed. Is that the worst case scenario for us?
Yeah, I mean, them just winning in general, but I mean, I just look. I'll be honest. I haven't watched an Indiana game this year. I don't know how good they are in Alabama. The games
I can't tell you anybody on their team other than the coach is Kurt Cignetti. That's all I know.
I mean, I know Alabama almost lost to Auburn, so they can be very, very bad, and they can be beatable. So yeah, that feels like a big number. It feels like this should be a basketball. Well, Alabama's good at basketball now, I guess, but yeah, I did not expect that line between Alabama and Indiana in college football. You wouldn't expect that.
Almost a full touchdown. If you want action on this, one way or the other, go to FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today to get started. Final segment of Braves Today here on Christmas Eve. Lindsay, Crosby, my friend Jake Mastroianni of Locked On Braves. Reminder, this is part 2 of us giving Christmas gifts to the 26 Atlanta Braves. If you missed part 1, it's available in your podcast feed over on Locked On Braves. Jake and I gave out a bunch of gifts earlier. My final gift, and this is, I think, probably a bit of an unconventional choice. I'm going to go with Walt Weiss because the decision to hire Walt Weiss by the Braves, it felt the immediate reaction a lot of fans had was a little bit of disappointment, right? We talked about George Lombard, Danny Lehman, all of these young analytical guys. And then Atlanta brings in the bench coach to be the manager. And what I want for him, my gift to him, is a healthy roster. He's talked a lot about he wants to give guys days off. You mentioned Ronald getting, 40 games in the DH spot. You can put Profar over there. You can use Baldwin against lefties, some of that stuff. I want Walt Weiss to not have a mash unit on one side of the ball, right? 2 years ago, the position player group was decimated by injuries. Last year, the pitching group was decimated by injuries. And at that point, it's just survival, right? You can't make the strategic decisions to win and get an edge in the game because you're just trying to survive. And I want Walt Weiss to have a chance to manage the way he wants to manage, to not need to figure out how do we cover 9 innings because we have 5 starters on the 60-day IL at the same time. So his Colorado tenure didn't go very well from a win-loss perspective. He's talked about he learned a lot from that. He has a lot of ideas of what he wants to do. It sounds really good. He said all the right things about using data and how he wants to use it to make decisions. It's a very young and forward-thinking coaching staff. I want Walt Weiss to have a chance to get into his bag and to cook this season without having to replace 5 injured starters between the rotation and the lineup.
Yeah, my gift to him is to get a win in one of the first 7 games this upcoming year. I think that would be a good start if he can do that.
It's an easy start to the season as compared to what you've had in recent years. You're at home, which is just amazing on its own. So
yeah, I mean, the West Coast trip beginning of the year against San Diego and the Dodgers is not great. So it is a little bit softer landing here for Walt Weiss. I think that's a good good call by you, because I think it's key. Because to your point, I don't think a lot of people, myself included, I wasn't all that excited about it. I mean, I didn't necessarily hate it, but I was looking for something external to try to get things going and turn things around in the direction it kind of felt like the team was going. And so for Walt to be able to come in, be able to, I think we've had more depth on this roster than we've had in a long time. And so I feel like AA has done a good job of being able to set him up to be able to withstand, but you can only withstand so much, right? I mean, you can't lose half of your lineup. You can't lose your entire starting rotation and expect to overcome that. And I get it, Braves fans, that I watched, me and Lindsay did the postcast. It wasn't all the injuries last year. They played poorly even before the injuries, but still, it's really, really hard to fight back through that when you are dealing with all of those injuries. So that's a great one for you. Certainly hoping that Walt gets off to a good start here. My final gift, and maybe you're going to see where a lot of my concern lies for this Braves team right now, because this is going to be my third reliever that I'm gifting to in the two podcasts. Raisel Iglesias, and I'm giving him his slider back. Batter slugged. I went and double checked this during the podcast because I wrote it down, but I just still couldn't believe it. Batter slugged 1038 against his slider last year. Like, that's a 1.038. And it was an expected slug of 818. So it's not like it was just completely unlucky. He got absolutely blitzed on that slider in a pitch that was so good for him the previous two seasons. In 2024, batters hit just 163 against that slider and slugged just 279 against it. The year before that was even better. They hit just 065 against, or 056 against his slider, and also slugged just 056. They gave up nothing on that slider in 2023, which was the juiced baseball season. So, I mean, that is, if he can get, and look, he proved in the second half, he doesn't have to have it to be really good. That was my main concern for him last year when he started to ditch that slider, is can he still be effective, especially against righties? You know, as a righty, if you can just sit on, everything's probably going to be middle in, and righties can kind of sit on that. I remember a home run against Suarez in that situation where he threw him a sinker in. Suarez was just looking for it and absolutely crushed it. And that concerned me, but he proved that he can still be successful even without it. But still, you get that slider back. I think it's a very important pitch against right-handed hitters, and he can go back to being one of the best relievers in all of baseball again.
Yeah, having him back to being him, I think, goes a long way with him and Suarez to be kind of a lockdown back into the bullpen. I will say, kind of to your point, and you kind of worded it really well, but the total numbers on this: 6 homers on the slider last year, 24, 23, and 22 combined. He allowed 3 on that slider. So like, it was a crazy performance. He only threw 95 of them last year, and 16 were put into play. It was three singles and 6 home runs. I did a thing in late November. The sample size for your home run rate to stabilize is 1,320 batters. This was very clearly a small sample size fluke. I think he'll be okay, but I also think the reason it's so important is because Robert Suarez does the same thing as Raisel Iglesias. Both of these guys, their primary pitch, 4-seam, changeup, sinker. The difference for Iglesias is he has a slider. So that's the one concern that I've not really talked about until I think now, really, is if a guy has seen Suarez, he has to feel good about facing Raisel Iglesias from a similar slot with a similar arsenal and similar usage. The only differentiator is Iglesias has that slider. So I'm with you. You've got to have that slider working this year, just so that, one, you can have an out pitch if they're comfortable with what they saw from Suarez, and then it just helps you lock down the back end of that bullpen. So I think that's a great call out from you. That's super important. And I'm curious to see how much he reintegrates that this year, because I do think it was some bad luck last year. Just he hung a couple and they got crushed, right?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, did he lose the grip on it or the release point on it or something that was leading to it hanging more? Or was it just everybody's going to hang a slider every now and then, and just every time he hung one, did it absolutely
miss it,
get destroyed? Was it just, like you said, that sample size, and it just they got him, and everyone that he hung this time. So yeah, very curious to see if, when he brings that back, how much he breaks it out. But I think that is a key pitch for him. And I think you made a good point too, to kind of differentiate between those guys that are probably going to be pitching back to back in a lot of games.
Yeah. That'll do it for Braves Today here on Christmas Eve. Do me a favor. If you're listening on audio, go make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Braves, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube. Same thing for us. 5-star reviews. Everybody would be great. For Jake, for me, we love words of affirmation. That'd be fantastic. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to both Locked On Braves and Braves Today. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop new episodes, when we go live, all that good stuff. Please be safe. Please have a Merry Christmas, and we will see you next time on Braves Today.